I welcome you all in steel design class. Uh, I am going to discuss what are the advantages and disadvantages of steel structure. Now, to come to advantages, uh, steel. You know that steel has high strength, means high compressive strength and tensile strength per unit weight. Hence, low construction weight. So, steel is basically lighter than concrete. So that's why the dead load of steel structure is less than concrete structure. Another safe space uh, in steel structure, you can get more space than RC structure because the steel has as the steel has high strength, so the sectional size become less, so lesser section required, whereas in RC section the more sections are the more size are required. So hence in steel structure uh, the spaces, you will get more space. Another point is the good aesthetic view. The steel structure is durable, good quality and durability, then very high speed of construction, means you can erect the steel structure easily and construction time require less. Another is reusability and scrap value. So after demolition of steel structure, so you will get scrap value. Also you can reuse the steel. uh, Another point is the environmental. Steel is environmental friendly. So as the steel has uh, more strength than concrete, so you can provide large span. Now you come to disadvantages. Steel is costly. This is a uh, one drawback of steel structure. Steel is costly. Another point is the corrosion. Okay, so steel may be corroded, and to prevent the corrosion, the paintings are required. So after regular interval, the paintings are required to prevent the corrosion. So it means maintenance cost is high and also low fire resistance. So before designing the steel structure, you must know the advantages and disadvantages of steel structure, so that you use steel uh, effectively and wisely. So uh, now the loads comes from structure. So different loads uh, may act to the structure. So what are the loads that I shall explain. So mainly the two type of loads are considered. One is gravity load. So gravity load means those load acting vertically downward. Okay, the gravitational action, the load is acting downward. And the lateral load, which is basically the load is acting in lateral direction, and mainly the lateral load comes from wind and earthquake. Gravity load consists of dead load, live load, or imposed load, which is acting vertically downward. Now come to dead load. Dead load, the dead load is a permanent load. So magnitude and its position do not change with respect of time. The self weight of structure uh, is called is considered as a dead load, and also the fixture. The fixture are basically used to join the members. Okay, to join, uh, to make the connection, to connect the steel members. The fixtures are used. Fixtures are, what are the fixtures? Fixtures are basically bolt, rivet, and welding, so which are uh, used to join the members. Another is the gusset plate. This is also a dead load. You know the gusset plate. Gusset plate is basically used to uh, join the members. At the joint, these plates are used. Roof covering sheet. Okay, the different type of sheets are used to cover the roof, like ACC is the asbestos cement sheet, then iron sheet. Now, to calculate the dead load, you have to use IS 875 part 1 and SP6. So in SP6, the steel sectional properties are given, the weights are given, and the dead load is calculated uh, from IS 875 part 1. So in IS 875 part 1, for different materials, the different units weight are given. So using the unit weight, you can calculate dead load. Now come to live load. Live load, you know, uh, which is refers to loads that do or can change over time. And the example of live loads are people walking around a building, occupant, basically the occupant's load, and the movable object such as furniture, almirah. So those are considered as live load, and live load is calculated from IS 875 part 2. For different structure, the different live loads are mentioned. So using IS 875 part 2, find out live load, the how much live load uh, is required, that you calculate, that you get from IS 875 part 2. Now the lateral load, so the wind load, you know that wind load is a lateral load. The wind load give a lateral load to the structure, uh, and which is basically acting on superstructure. I mean on the surface, the load is acting, so which is basically load acting on superstructure. And the code is IS 875 part 2. So using IS 875 part 2, calculate wind load. So you know the which one is superstructure. The superstructure is the portion of structure which lies uh, above ground level is called superstructure, and the load is acting on superstructure, means the wind load is acting on superstructure. If this is a frame, portal frame, okay, so load is acting, lateral load is acting due to wind. So on surface, on cover, the load is acting. So this load is transferred to the joint, then to the member, and member to the support. Okay, so lateral load comes from wind, and which is acting on superstructure. The reference code is IS 875 part 2. In earthquake also give a lateral force to the structure, and which is acting at the base of the structure. So this is a base of the structure, so which is acting at the acting on substructure. Substructure, you know, the portion which lies below the ground level. So at the base of the structure, earthquake load is acting, and due to this load, the uh, lateral force transferred to the structure, and you have to analyze and then you design. The reference code is IS 1893-2000. So using this code, calculate earthquake load. Uh, Next, for bridge structure, because you know that steels are massively used in bridge structure. So when you design the bridge structure, you have to consider dead load, live load, then wind load, then earthquake load, and the major load is vehicle load. Vehicle load you have to consider because the vehicle passes over the bridge, so the vehicle load you have to consider. So and how you compute, how you get the vehicle loads? So using the IRC code. So in IRC means the Indian, I stands for Indian Road Congress. Okay, so using the IRC code, Indian Road Congress code, find out how much vehicle load comes in a particular, in a different type of these structures, that you have to calculate from IRC code, and then you proceed for analysis, and after analysis you do design. Next, the design principles. Okay, so when you are going to design a member, so you have to follow the principle which you have to remember for any structural design. uh, this principle is this principle you have to remember this principle. So what are the principle? The member should have adequate strength. Okay, so the member has sufficient strength to carry all loads. Okay, to sustain all loads, the strength of the member should be adequate. Another is the deformation, because when you apply the load, so it will create a deformation. Suppose one point load is acting and the deformation took place. Okay, so the vertical deformation took place, downward deformation. So this what deformation developed due to load, this deformation should be within limit. Okay, so the limiting deformation given in code. So you have to check the deformation, whether the deformation is within allowable deformation or not, that you have to check. And another point is the design structure should be durable. So when you design a member, so you must ensure that the member should have sufficient strength. So you have to find out. So you provide the section, or you choose the material in such a way so that the strength should be more than applied load. Another is the deformation. So what deformation took place, so this deformation also within the allowable limit. Okay, this allowable the limiting deformation given in code, so that you have to check the deformation and strength criteria and the deformation of criteria. So these two major criteria you have to check for any design, to design any member. So you have to check these two criteria, and also the design structure should be durable. So the design member should have adequate strength, as well as the deformation also within the allowable limit, and design structure should be durable. So this principle you have to remember when you designing the member. Now the different methods are used to design the steel structure. In RC structure, you have learned these three methods are used in to design the RC structure that I had already explained. Uh, now the now here the methodologies are explained. Uh, the first method is IS working stress method, and the reference code is IS 800 1984. So you see that this code is IS 800. Using the IS 800 1984, uh, the working stress method, the provisions are given. So using the if you want to design a member using working stress method, then you have to follow IS 800 1984. Whereas the second method is ultimate load method or ultimate strength method, which was evolved in 1950 centuries, and the limit state method, the reference code is IS 800 2007. So using the 2800 2007, you can design the member using the limit state method. So the limit state method provisions are given, the methodologies and the provisions are given, design requirements, design criteria are given. So you have to follow the IS 800 2007 to design the member using the limit state method. Now next I am going to discuss the philosophies of three methods. The first is working stress method. So in working stress method, basically this is a elastic method. Here we assume that material obey Hooke's law, and also the members are designed on the basis of working or service load. So working means the what load is actual load. Actual load is considered. The what load comes to the structure. So this load is considered. So that is called, these loads are called working load or service load. Here the no factors are used. No factors are multiplied. Okay. So the actual load is considered, uh, and also the stress of material should not be more than uh, elastic stress, means the member withstand load up to elastic stress, and also the stress of concrete and steels are not allowed to exceed permissible stress. Stresses of steels are not allowed to exceed permissible stress. So these things are considered in working stress method. So the first point is the working stress method use working load and the stresses of and the member withstand load up to elastic stress, means it will not uh, the the strength is what strength is considered, that is up to elastic strength. And the point, and this point you have to note, here the ultimate strength is not considered. Okay, the elastic strength is considered, ultimate strength is not considered in working stress method. So what is allowable stress? Allowable stress is basically the yield stress, because in working stress method we consider the yield stress, not the ultimate stress. So the yield stress is considered. So if I draw the stress strain diagram of mild steel, then you see that this is the yield stress. Yield stress is considered in working stress method. Ultimate stress is not considered. So how we get the permissible stress? So this is basically the ratio of yield stress to factor of safety. Now the member for axial tension, the allowable stress given in given 0.6 Fi. This allowable stress value given in IS 800 1984. So factor of safety is how much? 1.67. So factor of safety is equal to yield stress by allowable stress. So the allowable stress is given for axial tension. The allowable stress is given in IS 800 1984. So the allowable stress divided by yield stress. Yield stress is denoted by Fy. Okay, the yield stress is denoted by Fy. So if I divide it, then we will get factor of safety, which is 1.67. And remember, for bending, for different type of forces, different allowable stresses are given in IS 800 1984, given in working stress method code. So here the allowable stress given 0.66 Fy. So the factor of safety is 1.5. Now what are the drawback of working stress method? The drawbacks is you know that load factor is not considered. Okay, so you see that in working stress method we consider the working load or the actual or service load, which is actually comes to the member. So these load are considered, not the factor load. Now another point is here the strength is considered up to yield strength. Okay, this is the strength considered up to yield strength. Although member can take certain amount of load beyond Fy. So the member, although member can take load beyond Fy, but these load are not considered. Means this is Fy and this is Fu. So this load is not considered. So means what? Hence the design is uneconomic. So the you are considering the less strength. So the so hence so therefore the more size, so the member size become more. Okay, if you consider Fu, then the member size become less. If you consider the lower strength, then the sectional size also sectional size is less. If I consider the more strength, then the sectional size is more. Sectional size is less. Now the in ultimate load method, now the next philosophy is the ultimate load method. So in ultimate load method, the ultimate strength is considered, but the serviceability is not considered. This is a major drawback, that the serviceability is not considered. That's why these methods are not used in design, because the serviceability is an important criteria in design. So what is serviceability? Serviceability basically deals with excessive, whether the member is whether the deflection is excessive or not, whether the cracks occur or not, whether leakage took place or not, or any excessive vibration took place or not. That is checked. So these criteria are checked in serviceability condition. So in serviceability, you have to check the whether member is whether deflection is excessive or not, whether crack occurs or not, or any leakage happened or not. So loss of durability. So this criteria is very important to design the member. The strength criteria is considered, means the ultimate strength is considered, also the factor load is considered in ultimate load method, but the serviceability is not considered. So from user's point of view, this method become obsolete. Okay, so this method from user's point of view, this method become obsolete. Now the in limit state method, so in limit state method all the previous methods shortcomings are eliminated. So what are the drawbacks of working stress method? So in working stress method you have seen that the factor loads are not considered, and also the ultimate strength is not considered. So in limit state method, all the shortcomings are eliminated, which in ultimate load method the serviceability are not considered. So here the both ultimate strength and serviceability are considered, and also the factors load is considered. So this is a modern method, and the code is IS 800 2007. So you see that from 84 to 2007 the working stage method are used to design the steel structure, whereas after introduction of Liebstad method code, the members are designed using the Liebstad method. So in Liebstad method, so here the characteristic load and characteristic strength are considered to assess load. This load is considered to assess load, and the strength is considered uh, is considered using the characteristic strength conception. Basically, you see that in design there are lot of uncertainty. So in characteristic, to define the characteristic load and characteristic strength, those uncertainties are considered, and so the characteristic load and characteristic strength are introduced in Liebstad method to design the members. So the reference given IS 800 2007, page number 28. So in page number 28 the provisions are given. uh, so you read the all provisions. So in Liebstad method we are using the factor load, and for different load combination you see that for different load combination, so when the dead load and live load are acting, and also this is a crane load, CL is the vertical or horizontal crane load. So when these three loads are acting, so this is called combination. Okay, you compute the load separately. Dead load you compute, you calculate dead load separately. Live load calculate live load separately. Then crane load separately. Then you combine. You add, and the factor is for dead load. You see the factor is 1.5. Then live load for factor is 1.5. Okay, now you see that the dead load, live load, crane load, wind load, and earthquake load. Okay, this is another combination. The factor given, load factor given. So this factor is called load factor. The load factor given. So dead load, live load, or crane load plus wind load or earthquake load. So you know that wind and earthquake, the two things are not comes to the structure. So either you consider wind load or earthquake load. Okay, so both are not considered simultaneously. So computing load combination is made. The suitable load factor is adopted. Okay, using the table 4. Okay, in table 4 the partial safety factors for load, which is denoted by gamma f. The load factor is denoted by gamma f in Liebstad method. So in load combination for different load, the load factor are mentioned, and load factor is basically mentioned, and using table 19, table 4, find out the factor load. So combination, you do the combination and then you apply factor to get the factor load, and this factor load is used to design the member. Next, another partial safety factor are used to compute the design stake. So you see that for loading the factor is used, load factor is used. for to compute the strength, another factor is used, that is a material factor of safety, for material. This is denoted by gamma m. Okay, the partial safety factor for materials. For different material, the partial factor of materials partial safety factor is are mentioned in table 5, given in IS 800-2007, page number 30. So go to page number 30 and read the clause is 5.4.1 and table 5. So how you get the design strength? So design strength is basically equal to the ultimate strength divided by SU is the ultimate strength divided by partial factor of safety used in material. So you see that the partial safety factor given, the resistance governed by yielding. Okay, the factor is given 1.10. Resistance of member to buckling given 1.10. Resistance governed by ultimate stress, the partial safety factor given 1.25. Now for connection, in connection, so you know that different type of connection are used: bolt, rivet and welds. So bolt friction type of two type of bolts are used: friction type and bearing type. So in friction type and for soft fabrication, if the bolts are bolt fabrication is done into the soft, then factor of safety is 1.25, and if it is in field, then factor of safety is, the bolt are used in field, so 1.25. And for welding, you see that for soft fabrication 1.25 and in field fabrication 1.50. So you see that difference. In soft fabrication, the quality of weld is welding quality are maintained properly. So whereas in field, this quality are not, due to the different problems, the qualities are not maintained properly. So that's why the large factor of safety are used for welding case, because the welding may be done in soft or in field. So when the weldings are done in field, so that time the factor of safety is 1.50, because the more factor of safety are considered. Whereas if the welding are done in soft, then less factor of safety are used. Now basically, when you design the member using the limit state method, you have to check the member from the limit state of collapse point of view. You have to check the member collapse point of view and serviceability point of view. Okay, so both criteria you have to check. The collapse means the adequate strength. So nothing but adequate strength. So adequate strength means the flexural strength, shear strength, torsional strength, tension, compressive strength. So this strength should be adequate or should be sufficient to resist load. And another point is the serviceability, which is basically deals with whether excessive deflection took place or not, whether the excessive crack comes or not, whether excessive vibration took place or not. That was checked in serviceability criteria. And also the leakage, if any leakage happened, so that is also checked in serviceability condition. So these two criteria you have to check when you design the member. So you have to check the member limit state of collapse point of view, and also you have to check the member limit state of serviceability point of view. So the both criteria, both point of view, you have to check the member and you design the members accordingly. So now we come to the connection. Connection are basically used to transfer forces from one member to another member. So what the function of connection is to transfer forces from one member to another members. Different type of connections are used. The rivet connection, this is now obsoleted because the such type of connections are not used now, uh, and the bolted connection, when the members are joined by bolting, then this connection is called bolted connection. And another connection is the welding connection. If the members are joined by welding, then the such type of connection are called welding connection. So basically the function of connection is transfer forces from one member to another member. You know that in RC structure we are not the connections are not designed, but in steel structure the connection has to be designed because the different type of connections are used. Rivet connection is not used in limit method, although in orchestral method these connections are used, but in limit method rivet connections are not used, so that's why not considered. So this connection is now obsoleted. Only the two connections are left: bolted connection and welding connection. Now we see that the connections are done by bolting. Here the members are joined by bolting. You see that this is called gusset plate. Okay, so this is called gusset plate. These are the members, the channel members. This is one another members. Then again, this is our channel members. Now the on gusset plate, the here you see that this is a one connection. Here the three members are joined. So how? So by bolting, by the application of bolt, the members are joined, and also the gusset are used. So this is a gusset plate. Okay, you see that here the gusset plate are used. So on gusset plate, the three members are joined by using the bolt. Now the bolt has the different portions. Bolt has different portion. So the this portion is called the threaded portion. This portion is threaded portion, whereas this portion is called shank. Okay, this is a shank. This is the head of the bolt. This length is called threaded length, and this length is called grip length. The total length is nominal length. The design of bolt connection is generally done using the IS 800-2007. So using IS 800-2007, the bolt connections are designed, and you know that in bolt connection different type of failure may take place. So we consider the different type of failure and design accordingly. So we from the failure we calculate the strengths, what type of failures comes and what are the strength, so that we check and then we design accordingly. So bolt has different parts like head, nut, shank, thread length, grip length and nominal length, which will be required for our design. So the shank area, threaded area, so required. So mainly the shank and thread portions required for designing of bolts. So these two are important, shank area and threaded area. So this is basically unthreaded portion, okay, the shank area, and this is threaded portion. So next we come to advantages of bolt connection. So bolt connection has few advantages like less manpower, so less manpower unlike so less manpowers are required in bolt connection, and also the high strength bolts are much so you see that high strength bolt are much stronger than rivet. So hence bolted connection needs less fasteners. So as the strength of bolts are much higher stronger than rivet, the strength is more than rivet, so the number of bolts require less. So less hole required, because the when you make a rivet connection or bolted connection, so you have to make a hole on gusset plate. So in bolt connection less hole required, because the bolt is more stronger than rivet. uh, so stronger connection. Now next point is bolt operation is much faster. So you have to just install the bolt and tight it. Whereas in rivet connection, the it is more time required. Uh, the fourth point is bolting operation is very silent in contrast to hammering noise in riveting. So in riveting the hammering is made, so the noise will not come in bolting operation. So there is no I mean the less noise comes, uh, and bolting is a code process, no risk of fire. The another main advantage is bolt can be removed, replaced or retightened easily in the event of faulty bolting or damaged bolt due to accidental hazard. So if any bolt is damaged or any kind of fault, uh, if any faulty bolts are uh, identified, so that can be removed or replaced or retightened easily, okay, due to. So these advantage you must know. So when you design the bolt connection, the advantages you know, and also you must know the disadvantages of bolt connection. What are the disadvantages? Bolt connection have less strength in axial tension as the net area at the root of the threads is less. So because the bolt has two part, mainly two part, one is shank part, another is threaded part. So in threaded part, the net area less. The another point is under vibratory loads. So when so due to the vibration in bridge structure, the vibration occurred due to the vehicles uh, load. So the strength is reduced if the connection get loosened. If the connection uh, if the connections is loosed, uh, the strength is also reduced. So that in bolting connection, so the regular monitoring are required. So whether any bolt is whether connection is tightened or not, that you have to check. Third point is unfinished bolt have lesser strength because of non-uniform diameter, and the architectural looks are not so good. Now different type of bolts are used. So bolt are basically classified according to strength, based on strength and material and type of shank. The different type of bolts are used. The ordinary or black bolt. This is a very common type of bolt which are used in construction. And another is when you need a high strength. So that time the high strength or high strength friction grip bolt, which is denoted by HSFG, high strength friction grip bolt, is also used. So HS, so you see the note, read the note. HSFG bolts is generally used in case of high load if you need less number of holes. As the HSFG bolt has high strength, so you need a less number of hole and less number of bolt, then we have to go for HSFG bolt. So generally the ordinary bolts are used, but when the high strength HSFG bolt are required, so when the high load comes, when the huge load comes, and also you need a less number of holes and less number of bolts, in that time uh, we 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 use HSFG bolt. Now the in designing of to design the bolted connection, so number of few terminology you must know. So this is a typical bolted connection. You see that the two plates are lapped together. Okay, so this is a lapping distance. Now the terminology you must know when you design the members, design the bolts. Lap distance. So what is lap distance? Overlapping portion of two plate. So this overlapping, the two plates are overlapped, so this overlapping portion is called lap. Then pitch. So what is pitch? Center to center distance of the two successive bolts measure in the direction of load. So this is the direction of this is the direction of load. So if the distance is measured in the direction of load and from center to center of two successive bolt is called pitch. So you see that here we are showing the pitch distance, the center to center distance of the bolt measured in the direction of forces. And what is gauge distance? This is also a center to center distance of two successive bolt measured in the transverse direction of load. So in the transverse direction of load, if when the distance measured from center to center measured from bolt to bolt, then this distance is called gauge distance, and the pitch is measured in the direction of force, whereas the gauge measure in the transverse direction of the load. Now the end and edge distance. So you see that the distance from the center of outermost bolt to the edge of plate is called end distance, and this distance is measured parallel to the direction of force. So parallel to the direction of force, this is the force direction. So parallel, this distance is measured parallel to the direction of forces from the outermost from the center of outermost bolt. This is center line. From the center of the outermost bolt to the edge of the plate. So this is the edge of the plate, is called edge distance, whereas edge distance measured perpendicular to the force, and this is also distance, if we consider, is called edge distance. This is also outermost from centroid, the distance from the center of the outermost hole to the edge of the plate, and measure perpendicular to the force. The end distance measure parallel to force, and edge distance measure perpendicular to the forces. You see that here the two plates are overlapped, and then this dotted line comes because this plate is below this plate. Okay, that's why the dotted line comes here, and here the 3 bolts are used. So the distance, the center to center distance of the bolt in the direction of force is called pitch distance, and if it is measured perpendicular direction, I mean the transverse direction, then it is called gauge distance. End distance, the parallel distance, parallel of the forces. This distance is measured parallel of the forces, and edge distance measured perpendicular to the forces. So this terminology you must remember when you design the member. So this terminology are required, that you must understand. Now the minimum pitch. So the minimum pitches are given in IS 800/2007. You see that the distance between center of fasteners means the bolt or weld between the center of fasteners shall not be less than 2.5 times the nominal diameter of the fastener. 2.5 times the nominal diameter of the fastener. The nominal diameter means this diameter in the I mean on shank portion, this diameter is measured, and which is equal to 2.5 times nominal diameter of the bolt. The minimum pitch is required, and the maximum pitch, this is 16 T. 16 times T is the thickness of thinner plate, or 200 mm, whichever is less. Minimum end distance also given. This is 1.7 times the hole diameter, and the gross diameter, which is equal to nominal diameter plus clearance. Gross diameter is basically a hole diameter. So this is nominal diameter. Nominal diameter is the basically diameter of shank, plus you have to use the clearance. So clearance is given in table 19 IS 800/2007, page number 73, table 19 given. So using the table 19 you get the clearance. So you see that here the range is given, nominal size of diameter given. So you see that here the range is, if the nominal diameter 12 to 40 mm, then clearance is 1. If the diameter of the bolt between 16 to 22, then clearance is 2. Then 24, length larger than 24, the clearance given 3. So you have to add clearance to get the hole diameter or gross diameter.